My name is Leonardo, and after the silent hills of my childhood, I now stood in a city that never knew silence, Florence. Florence in the 15th century was no ordinary place. It was a living heart pumping the blood of the Renaissance through all of Italy. Everywhere you could hear voices, preachers speaking of virtue and sin, merchants trading spices and fabrics from the East, musicians strumming lutes while poets recited verses of love and philosophy. But above all, one could feel the breath of art. The walls were covered with frescoes, the churches filled with sculpture, and in the palaces of the Medici hung paintings that brought the divine into the earthly. I, a young bastard from Vinci, stood in the midst of this stream of creation. Everything around me whispered, "Here, the future is being born." My father brought me to Andrea del Verrocchio, a master who was more than a painter. His workshop was like a small cosmos. When you entered, it smelled of wet paint, of oil, and of metal. In one corner, apprentices shaped clay into faces soon to be cast in bronze. In another, they ground lapis lazuli into a pigment more precious than gold. And everywhere there was dust, marble dust, glimmering in the sun like a cloud. Here I was to learn, not only how to paint faces, but how to think like a creator. Verrocchio looked at me, long, searching, almost stern. Then he nodded. It was no warm welcome, but it was the beginning of my new world. In the workshop I learned how to create with patience. I learned that a painting does not begin with the figure, but with the preparation of the canvas. That a sculptor does not carve the final work from stone, but questions the stone until it reveals its form. The days were long. Often I spent hours grinding pigments, ochre, cinnabar, or making glue from animal hides. Where other apprentices groaned, I found secrets. Why does one metal reflect light while another absorbs it? Why does one block of marble fracture while a weaker one endures? Every task was an experiment, and at night when the workshop grew silent, I often stayed behind. I drew candle flames, shadows on the walls, the hands of apprentices as they slept. To me, nothing was too small to be studied. One day, Verrocchio was working on a great altarpiece, the baptism of Christ. He allowed me to paint a small part, a single angel at the edge of the scene. I painted as I had learned from my own eyes, not only the outer form but the inner life. The soft light across the face, the motion in the hair, the natural depth in the gaze. When Verrocchio saw it, he laid down his brush in silence. They say he swore never to paint again, that he felt my hand had surpassed his own. Perhaps it is only a legend, but legends often carry truths. My hand was beginning to move beyond the boundaries of a pupil. Yet I was no easy apprentice. While others focused on their paintings, my thoughts wandered. I studied not only angels and saints, but also gears, hinges, and water wheels. I observed how smoke rose from a candle, how birds tilted their wings, how blood pulsed from a wound. Verrocchio often scolded me for my restlessness. "Leonardo, you begin much, but finish little." And he was right. But to me, every unfinished work was a key to a door that had not yet been built. One day I knew I would need those keys. Soon commissions found me. A portrait here, a small altarpiece there. For the first time, my name was spoken not only as an apprentice, but as Master Leonardo. And yet, as much as Florence shaped me, I began to feel its limits. The city loved paintings, sculpture, and music. But my sketches of flying machines, my drawings of war engines, they were seen as distractions, the fantasies of a restless mind. I realized if I wished to fulfill my visions, I would need a stage larger than Florence. In the quiet hours of the night, while the city slept, I imagined the future. A place where not only the beauty of art, but the power of invention was desired. A place where a ruler might demand not only paintings, but bridges, weapons, machines. That call came from Milan, and with it, a new chapter of my life began. Florence shaped me. It turned a farmer's son into an artist, an apprentice into a master. But my spirit remained restless, for in every brushstroke, in every sketch, I heard the same question: what comes next? And so I left Florence, not from lack of love, but from hunger for more. I am Leonardo, and this was my apprenticeship, the years when my fire was kindled but not yet tamed.